Welcome to the first spooky news segment of the official 2023 spooky season. This episode is for September 15th, 2023. The night time is coming earlier every day and the shadows are growing longer as we settle into spooky season. I know, I always say spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, and I firmly believe that. There is still just something really special about this time of year. And it's always great to have the rest of the world on the same page as those of us in the spooky tribe for a while. Before we get to the news, I have a few of the standard announcements to make. First, Spooky Ventures in general, and especially this YouTube channel, is meant to be interactive. So please interact. If there's something you think I should talk about in the news or someone I should interview, please let me know. Please like our videos, share our videos, comment, and subscribe. Next, if you want more information on any of the things I talk about here, there are two places you can find that. I include the information in the details section of this video as URLs. I also list them all in the video itself at the end after I'm done talking. With all that out of the way, let's get to the news. First up, I've got some music news for you. Duran Duran, remember those guys? Well, they have a new album coming out on October 27th. The album will be titled Dance Macabre, and it's going to be a Halloween-themed album. Honestly, I wonder why they're waiting that late in the month to release it, but it will be good to have it either way. In another piece of music news, John Carpenter has a new album coming out called Anthology 2, Movie Themes 1976 to 1988. The album will include a number of theme pieces and other pieces from the music from Carpenter's films and use modern instrumentation to recreate them with added elements. That album will be released on October 6th, which seems like it would have been a much better release date for the Duran Duran disc. Among the music on the album are 3 themes Carpenter recorded for The Thing that wound up not being used in the movie. From movie music, we turn to movies. Do you remember all the great classic Hammer horror films? Well, there was some great news that came out for those who love Hammer horror. British theater producer John Gore has purchased Hammer Films in studios. Let me say that Gore seems an appropriate name for someone who now owns a legendary horror movie company. Gore plans to do revitalized Hammer horror and begin producing films that both pay tribute to the legacy of the company but also bring it up to date. I, for one, am very interested to see what they do under this new guidance. Continuing a theme of modern developments in retro horror, you remember the old TV show and particularly the film Tales from the Dark Side? It was very well established in the classic tradition of anthology horror. Well, the movie is getting a 4K home video release for the first time ever. The 1990 film was packed full of stars and included stories from such giants of horror as George Romero and Stephen King. The new 4K release will be available on November 28th. From movies, we move to television, but movie-related television. I also get a chance to talk about one of my favorites, Svengoolie. If you've watched enough of these shows, you have to know that I'm a big fan of Svengoolie, and I suppose the hat I'm wearing kind of gives it away too. In fact, I've been publishing a series of books on spooky Chicago area stories. They are called Spooky Berwyn as an homage to Svengoolie because he has a running gag on the show where someone will say Berwyn in a derisive way. So, anytime I get to talk about Svengoolie is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. For those who don't know, Svengoolie is a horror host out of Chicago. Rich Koz plays the character and writes the shows and is the main man behind it. It started out as a Chicago institution, but went national with MeTV quite a few years ago. In honor of spooky season this year, MeTV is going all in on Svengoolie. While they're doing some other things like marathons of spooky shows like Kolchak overnight, I'm most excited about what will be happening to the Saturday night schedule. Svengoolie recently expanded from 2 hours to 2.5, but for October, we get even more Sven. That's because they will run the usual 2.5 hour episode in its own time slot of 7 Central, but then they will follow it with a 2 hour classic Svengoolie episode. So we're going to be getting 4.5 hours of Sven on Saturday nights for October. I'm all in on that. Next, I'm going to revisit a news item I had in the last Spooky News. A potential 13 Ghosts TV series. I mentioned last time that it's in the development phase and they are trying to sell a company on producing it. While that's not changed, at least officially, in fact I have no information of any change, we did get some new information recently. It seems that they're not just looking at one season of a show to explore the stories of the individual ghosts in the house, but rather are planning for multiple seasons. So if this show gets the green light, that should make it even more exciting news. Next up, if you have the money, you can have what might be the ultimate Halloween collectible. That's because the home seen in the movie Halloween is for sale. Yes, I'm talking the house where Laurie Strode was seen holding a pumpkin on the porch. Located in South Pasadena, California, the house is on the market with an asking price of $1.8 million. Mind you, I think only the exterior was seen in the movie, but I'm not positive. The article I read said that it is now a 3-unit property, so I'm guessing it at one point was converted from a single-family home. While that brings us to the end of the actual news, I should do a little plug for my publishing imprint, Tales of Wonder and Dread. We recently had our 5th anniversary, and in celebration, I released 5 new books. One of those I mentioned indirectly earlier. That one is Spooky Berwyn 3, and it is an homage to Svengoolie and a book of non-fiction spooky stories in the Chicago area. Spooky State Line 2 is a similar type of book, but based in the greater Rockford, Illinois area. Spooky Space features creepy stories related to outer space. Spooky and Weird is a collection of weird fiction and poetry. Tales of Wonder and Dread, the book, is a collection of science fiction and horror stories. All of them are available at lulu.com/spotlight/strange-sound in paperback and hardcover. Also, don't forget you can find all kinds of spooky merch at cafepress.com/spookyventures. And don't forget that there is more content at spookyventures.com. Among that content is our spooky calendar, which includes dates of interest to fans of all things spooky. You can find it at the main page at spookyventures.com. Just scroll down to the bottom where you'll see the link. Looking at that calendar, you'll see that this Sunday, the 17th, is Cassandra Peterson, also known as Elvira's birthday. Stephen King's birthday is the 21st. The movie Shaky Shivers opens that same day. And Saw X, or Saw 10, opens the 29th. My next edition of Spooky News will either be 1 week from today or 2. It all depends on how much news there is to share in time for the next week. This time of the year, I always ramp up these updates, though. Until next time, remember, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, and always keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.